Hey there guys, Sam Laterna here, and you're watching Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey guys, this is Iron Rip Bison. You're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hi, this is Becca.
And this is Hayden, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am your host, James J., the Coleco Yachts and Scooter Dust, who is not here today, but it's still a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with Lady Becca and Hayden Loeve. How are you guys?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you tell us what you got coming up next?
Well, I'll leave that one to you because my memory's awful.
So we've got 2 shows coming up. So it's our first show of the year on March the 25th, and that's one of our local shows at Gainsborough. And we are running at the X-Church. And then following on from that, we are making a debut at a new event called the Drill Hall in Lincoln. And we're really excited for this because we've got a family-friendly show in the afternoon. And then we've got an over 18 show in the evening, and that's on April 2nd.
Interesting. And where can we find you on social media as well?
So, me personally, I'm pretty much all my links are through Instagram, and that's Lincoln Dutch. And then the company is, oh God, I'm going to have to look now.
So you can find us at fightfactorywrestling.com, and then on Facebook it's /FF Wrestling, and we also have our gym page, which is FFW Pro Wrestling and Fitness, and then on Instagram
it's Fight Factory Wrestling UK.
All right. And you don't even have to look for those. You could find them in the link, all the links in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, now can you tell us about your company, Fight Factory Wrestling?
Again, that one's more for you. You're in charge of that.
So we established ourselves in 2013. We came up with an idea for a show called Bodyslams to Cancer after we had been wanting to put on a show for Hayden's mum. So unfortunately she passed away of cancer, and previous to that she wanted to be able to see him wrestle. So we decided that we were going to put on a show so that the hall was big enough that she could sit in the back and keep away from everybody while she was undergoing her treatment. And unfortunately she didn't make it to that point, so we decided that we would crack on in earnest and make it the biggest show that we could ever do. And kind of from that moment, Fight Factory was born, and we ran shows, and we run our own training school called FFW Pro Wrestling and Fitness, and we train everybody from the ground up, from aged 8 and upwards, and we teach everything from character, ring building, you name it. That's what we do.
Right. And you mentioned the Bodyslam to Cancer event. And the more recent one, Dutch, you wrestled your own brother on that show, correct?
Yeah, that was not the most recent one. That was pre-COVID. So that was October 2019. Everything's become a blur since COVID became a thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I wrestled my own brother on that event. Yeah.
And how did that feel, considering that whole event is kind of dedicated to your mother, and now you're fighting your brother on that same event?
It was a really, really strange mixed bag of emotions. And to make it even harder, my brother had only just a few months beforehand got married. And he went on holiday to the States and then to Mexico, and he was hospitalized in Mexico. So he discharged himself, flew back just for the event, and he wasn't well at all. Wow. So it was a really, really difficult event. Every year it's a great event for us to do and to be part of. So to run the company and be part of that is a great thing to do, but to perform is always an honor, because I can be dropped from the card as anybody else can be. So it just put extra stress on making sure we could put on the best performance possible while working around his illness. And still, I believe we were the main event, if I remember right. Yeah. So it was a really tricky spot to be in, but I think it paid off well. We got the right reactions we were after, and it enabled us to carry on up until COVID took over.
All right. Now, getting into that, UK wrestling was hit with one terrible thing after another, starting from 2019. Then the pandemic in 2020. So what was your mindset in that environment as a promoter and as a wrestler as well?
So I don't consider myself a promoter at all. The only thing I do when it comes to looking at the card is, from the training school, putting the guys forward who have put in the effort, or people who I know independently who I think could add to the card. Everything else, as far as that goes, is Becca's doing the story writing, the creative side. But as a coach, as a performer, looking into the whole speaking out movement, I'm trying to think of the PG way of saying this. It really annoyed me.
I mean, if you want to use a less PG word, you can.
Cool. So it really pissed me off. There are a lot of people in the business. I'm not afraid to upset people. And there are a lot of people in the business who I've had eyes on for a while for being the ones who were spoken about. But without the evidence, it was difficult to pinpoint them. And when it started to come out, we knew of one or two, but the girls who they had put in certain situations had asked us to not say anything out of fear of what could happen to them. So it was a really tricky situation for us as a friend, as a coach, as a fellow wrestler to these people. So it brings a big cloud of disappointment on the people who hid these people, if that makes sense. Right. From Becca's standpoint, she deals with the safeguarding of the company. So again, she was pretty upset, and I think she can tell her story better than I can.
Yeah, I think for me, the whole speaking out movement upset me, because I couldn't understand why companies weren't running how we did. So from start to finish, we've always had a safeguarding policy in place with health and safety regulations and contact with the local social services and police, etc., to make sure that we're doing everything in the right way. So for so many companies within the UK not to have safeguarding policies in place, I think it just annoyed me massively, because at the end of the day, even British wrestling is unregulated. It's not like your boxing, whereby you've got a council that controls everything. So for me, if you're going to go do something, you should do it properly. And self-regulation is important, because if you're going to put your name to something, surely you want it to be done right. Right. And I was under the impression that actually people work like I did. So for me to find,
it's not like that.
For me to find that out, I was disgusted. And a lot of the companies who were named and shamed, etc., it was hard, because when it came to booking people on our shows, and even down to who we were going to provide ring hires for, it was a case of, right, I need to now check, is this person on a list? Is this company on a list? Yeah. And it just made it so difficult, because obviously I don't want our company name associating with people who are in that caliber. So yeah, disappointed in the wrestling scene in the UK is kind of my thoughts on that at the time.
And kind of on a personal note as well. It's all personal, because it's what puts food on the table for us. But my daughter's got into it and she's starting to break out and make a name for herself. And from a young age, I've warned them, and even the juniors who we train, I've warned them of, things to look out for, that our doors open. Which bit? With the juniors, like telling them what to look out for, and that our phones are on, and they can speak to us if they're ever at a show where we put on, say, pre-show entertainment. They can speak to us if there's anything at all they're uncomfortable with. We've got a complete open door policy. Our safeguarding officer is at the shows. So it's sad that we have to train them like that, but at the same time, I don't understand why it's not been done everywhere, to be honest, especially those who train children.
Right. And then, all that terribleness, and then right after the pandemic hit, which just stopped everything as well.
Yeah, that was problematic, because with us, we had a premises that we needed to pay rent on, and all of a sudden there's no income. So I at the time was training as a nurse to qualify, and all of a sudden we're surviving on my student loan and no income whatsoever from the wrestling. So that in itself was like, holy hell, now what do we do? But luckily, because we'd done everything right and we'd not
avoided the taxman,
the government was able to support us in that they paid us enough grants to cover our rent, but we still didn't have a wage. So that was problematic. We were surviving on, I think, income of £15,000.
Yeah.
For a family of 5 for the year of the pandemic, which I'm not entirely sure how we did that, but we did.
Also the fear of losing fan base, like if people can survive without things that they had before, did they want to come back to the shows? Did they want to be invested in the characters? It was a worrying time. Trying to keep people on board with what we're doing via social media isn't as easy as it seems to be.
Right, but now you do actually have events coming back in March and April.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've done events last year. We started with an open air event in a park, which was great for the trainees. We didn't book anybody to come in. It was just the guys who had stuck with us and some new people who had joined since we were allowed to open, or since we were allowed to open virtually all the way through. We just chose not to because it wasn't the right thing to do. So since we opened, we made the time for the new guys to get experience in front of an audience that weren't necessarily a wrestling audience. So that was a great experience for them, and it's something that again helps another couple of charities. And then we had in England, we have camp shows, so we go to the holiday parks and perform there as entertainment. So that was good to get the ball rolling again, getting us back into that working environment, getting us back in front of an audience, getting people interested again. And then we managed to run three of our proper shows, as well as having a few independent bookings for myself. So it was good to start, I guess, in the deep end, really. Some of them summer shows were going, they were 2 a week in front of like 2,500 people. So yeah, it was good.
Right. Now, you actually broke your back in quite a while ago. Was that during a match, or was that just a cumulative injury points?
So I think I'd hurt it beforehand. The problem was, at that time in my life, I was doing some substances I shouldn't have been doing. So pain thresholds were really high. So it wasn't in a organized event in any way. It was essentially a backyard show. And I came out the ring and just came out really badly and hit my lower back onto the steel. And as instantly I knew there was something wrong. And over the weeks, it was getting worse and worse. And then I took time off work. I took time off my other jobs. We got together, and she was like, "This is not normal." There was some X-rays taken, and it was found that it was. I had 2 discs completely gone, one on its way out. Signs of a fracture in a bone somewhere in the lower back. I can't remember which one. And I also needed a hip replacement. So there was a lot going on.
And you were out of the ring for 5 years, correct?
I think it could have been longer. It was 5 years of cleaning up from drugs and alcohol. So
yeah, it was about that because you went back in
2011, 10, something like that.
Yeah.
My memory's awful.
It took a lot of rehabilitation. There was days where he couldn't get his socks and shoes on. I'd have to get him dressed before I went to work because otherwise he wouldn't be able to get dressed. And there was the odd occasion where I got a phone call to say that he'd gone for a bath and actually he'd got stuck. So could I come home and rescue him? So it was interesting.
The pill addiction was also a very interesting time. So.
Oh, yeah, that was.
But, you know, looking back at that now, was it kind of maybe a good thing per se? Because you did kind of clean up and you did meet Becca and kind of restart your life?
Yeah, so in that sort of time, there was a lot going on with different things. But she, I'd say, pretty much cleaned me up. There were still times where if I could get my hands on things, I would, but I'm not a very good liar, so I was always caught. So I think if it hadn't happened the way it had, maybe there's the question of would I still be here or what state would I be in? I still in my head don't see it as I was bad as some people, but I can see the path it was going down and how long I was doing it for. It could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I think there's some blessings that you always have to look out for and silver linings in the cloud. So there's definitely something that I've learned from it. And it also gives me the ability to pass on to the new guys, like when you're hurt, get the professional help, see physios regular. You know, you wouldn't let your car break down, so why let your body break down? That's the sort of thing I can take from it and pass on now.
All right. And Becca, that was more of your entry into pro wrestling too, correct?
Yeah, so if I'm honest, and people are always surprised at this, I hate wrestling. Like it's something that I used to always watch on the TV because like my brother-in-law would watch it and I'd be like, what is this? This is like grown men in lycra throwing themselves around for a living. I just don't get it. But then when I saw the effort and determination that my husband had to get back to ring fitness and the hard work that was required to be at the standard he's at now, and all the effort that our trainees put in, you know, that's a lot of dedication, and that changed my opinion. So I love Fight Factory, and I love the professionalism behind it, and I love the storyline and etc. And
the friends you've met.
And the friendship groups that I've met through it, you know, it's taught me a lot. But mostly, I love the fact that it was a passion and a drive that enabled my husband to rehabilitate himself because he had a goal. It was kind of like, right, what is my aim? Am I going to have one last like MMA fight, or am I going to go for wrestling and have a long career? And because it gave him something to focus on and it gave him that drive, it meant that he could rehabilitate, and now he is able to pass on that knowledge to others and, you know, is a great dad to our kids. So wrestling has given me a life that I never thought I would have.
That's Fantastic. And you mentioned earlier on that you're the kind of like the type of person that dots her I's and crosses her T's and makes sure that everything is proper. Where does that work discipline come from? Because some companies have that, but like we said, not a lot of other ones do.
I think for me, when you step foot in a wrestling ring, it's not a game, and it is a massive piece of metal and steel that is under tension. That if that goes wrong, you can kill someone. And for me, I didn't want that on my conscience. And I've always come from sort of like a nursing and medical background, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't creating patients. We were keeping people safe, and I have stuff in my history that required me to have a knowledge of safeguarding and to ensure that the people that we brought into our world were kept safe. So more, it's just morality and conscience that makes me the way I am. I want to make sure it's done right.
And also, if we did it wrong, we'd be the first people to get a knock on the door from the tax man or insurance companies or somebody.
Yeah, we would be like the ones that were rinsed completely. So that's why I do everything properly.
All right. Now, Hayden, you named your toughest opponents of all time, and the only woman on that list was Lory. So, being the only woman on that list, does that make her double tough?
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of tough women. I've been in the ring with a few women now, and I think they bring the best out in a lot of people without even needing to try. The way that women work in the UK now is unbelievable. It's a shock to a lot of people that they tend to hit a lot harder than the guys too. But yeah, Lory, in my opinion, she's one of the best in the world, regardless of gender.
Oh, absolutely. We interviewed her not too long ago, and it was definitely a very memorable interview.
I can imagine.
Yes.
I think I actually listened to it, if I remember right. Yeah.
She's one of my best friends, and the love I have for that woman is amazing. She is the most underrated wrestler and underused wrestler in the country. She should be out there doing more. And I think for the British wrestling scene, women have had to work so hard to push themselves forward. That it's been a very, very male dominated environment, both for female wrestlers and female promoters. So as a promoter, that's a difficult world to get into. So I'm always singing that woman's praises. She's amazing.
Absolutely. We even talked about that on when I spoke to her. Like, how is she not everywhere at this point?
I just don't get it. I genuinely don't get it.
It blows my mind. Again, this is quite behind the curtains, but we've had several different styles of matches, whether we've been in tag teams or singles, where we've had really serious matches where it's like a feud. We've had some matches that are comedy. We've had some hardcore matches, and every style that every situation we've been put into, I wouldn't even say it's because we've got a really good relationship. We don't need to go in there and plan anything. We just know how to work with each other. But I think she could have a 5-star match with a broom. She's just so good. And how more people aren't taking notice of this blows my mind. She has the respect of anybody I've spoken to. Absolutely anybody I've spoken to has so much respect for her. But it's only like coming out of the pandemic where you're hearing more people speak about her. So very strange.
Yes. Now, can you tell us about the King of the Cage event?
Yeah, I think That was my idea, actually, that one, I think.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we wanted something different. We had the opportunity to buy a steel cage, and it's kind of a mashup between King of the Ring meets Royal Rumble meets, again, I'm allowed to use non-PG words, a big clusterfuck. It's an event we run once a year. So we have 5 or 6 matches, and everybody has to qualify for them matches in the months building up to it. When you're in the match, everybody's trying to get the best spot in the cage match at the end, the main event. So the quickest loser is the first person in the cage, and the quickest winner is the last person in the cage, getting the advantage of being less worn.
Right.
And you fight it out until everybody's in the cage, and it's pinfalls or submissions until the final 2, where it's pinfall, submission, or escape the cage. And we've held, I want to say, 4 of them now. And every single time it tends to pack out the hall where we run it in, which at that time of year is freezing cold. The floor turns to ice, but people turn up with big coats and blankets just to see the event, because it's something different to what we run for the rest of the year.
It sounds very interesting for sure. And it's, it's not as, complicated as other match types that are out there today.
No, there's some really weird things out there at the minute.
Yeah.
Becca, anything you want to add to the King of the Cage?
I have a love-hate relationship with that cage. I love its presence. I think the actual tournament is amazing, but building the cage and the logistics of it and the safety, etc., that goes with it, I hate. It is the biggest pain in my ass ever. So it's, a lot of planning goes into it. But when that final panel is taken down and loaded into the van and everybody's safe, I'm a happy woman.
Safe as can be after you've been in that cage.
I'm a happy woman. I can go home and have a gin and it's fine. But whilst it's on, my nerves are in tatters.
Especially when my brother stands at the top of the cage and throws himself into everybody in there.
Yeah. I think he does it just to wind me up. That's what he does.
Now, Hayden, you won the Anarchy 24/7 title off of Becca, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think twice now, if I remember right.
One of those occasions was by taking was it a steel chair or something?
No, I think it was a license plate.
To my back whilst I'm washing the dishes. So, 24-hour rules remain high. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess that's one of the disadvantages of being a 24/7 champion while still living with a wrestler.
Yeah, it is. It's like I told him he needed to sleep with one eye open.
As long as you have that referee, it's perfectly legal.
I just don't understand how the referees can always find our house.
Now, you had mentioned earlier your daughter is also a wrestler. So
that's right, yeah.
What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of having your child follow in your footsteps?
Well, at first, I enjoy the kids coming to the shows and being part of the whole event, getting involved, getting to know people, speaking, not being afraid to be around the wrestlers, that's great. And having that time where in the summer seasons, my daughter would sometimes come on the road with me. So spending that time with her was amazing. And then when she started to show an interest in wanting to train, I thought, well, for a fitness side, it's great. And to make friends here, because she lives with her mother an hour away. So for her to make some friends here was a nice thing for her as well. But then she started to want to get onto the shows. So it was a really weird thing, because I always say to the kids, if you want to drive a bin truck and you're happy and that's what you want to do in your life, then follow your dream. As long as you're happy, happiness is more important than the money, as long as you can pay your bills. And Kiya had shown more and more interest into getting onto the shows, and we were going to hold her back until she was 18 and say, make sure you want to do this. You've got exams and, studying to do. But then she needed to raise some money for a school. And we didn't have the cash that they wanted to outlay. So we said, okay, the best we can do is organize an event where it raises the money for the school. But if you want us to do it, then you've been around when Becca's had the meetings on the creative side, and you've seen how the booking works, the guys, and we wanted her to help book the show. And then it turned into a bit of a thing of, well, she wants to work, so why don't we give her the opportunity to work her own show? So we know there's a few women who she's really looked up to, and there's a few guys that she's really looked up to. So we kind of asked her opinion, what would happen if, just like rhetorical questions. And when Janine said she was available, or Lory said she was available, it kind of grew from there, and she had her first match in front of her friends from her high school who didn't really know that she did it. Like Lory said, that she was so, as scared as she was, as nervous as she was quite confident in there, and she actually held her own. And she watches the match back now, and she doesn't really like her performance, but I think if you go in at the deep end in front of people who don't understand what wrestling is, you're going to do well. And then from there, she's whenever she's with us, she's been in the ring as often as she can. She'd done a few shows where she was sat in backstage, spoke to the people she was working with, and then carried on doing a study in her wrestling gear, gone out, done the match, and then come back and carried on studying while the ring's being taken down. So, I think she has the right attitude with it, and now she's starting to break out into the scene, and she's I believe she's actually got more work than me this year coming. I know in early 2020 there was people from other parts of the world inquiring about if she was ready to travel for wrestling as well. So we still say her education needs to come first, but again, I can't tell her not to do this. When I'm always saying follow your dreams, I want her to do well in her studying and have the real world expectations. But if this takes off for her and she can make some money out of it, then I'm for that too.
In order to study well, you need to have downtime, and if you have a hobby that you can enjoy and you can earn some money from it as well, then she will do better because she can relax and not take herself so seriously. And that's coming from somebody who's done the university degrees. She needs that downtime, and I think wrestling is the
stress relief as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I mean, having one of her first matches with Lory and not be afraid, wow. That's like really being thrown into the deep end to a degree.
I believe her grandmother on her mother's side still dislikes Lory to this day. She was there watching it, and that was the first time she'd seen our product, and obviously the first time she'd seen Kiya in the ring. So
the fact that I let her granddaughter get in a ring with Lory probably didn't make me my favourite person either, but never mind. Hey.
But if you can get in there and go toe to toe with, again, someone who I believe is one of the best in the world, then you've got good foundations to build whatever career you want from wrestling.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that the match where Lory destroyed a plush unicorn?
I know that
Oh
was one of the
no,
camp
that was one of
shows.
the summer camp shows. That one.
Okay.
So I think it was the second match back from COVID.
Yeah.
That was it, one of the holiday parts. So her first match back, I believe, was with Eliza Roux, and her second was with either Jack of Clubs or Lory. I can't remember which way round it went. And yes, there was a lot of kids at that event, so you could see tears in the eyes of a few on the front row.
Now, something that I learned from a previous interview with Sam Laterna, sometimes you gotta draw it back and pay it forward. So I'm stealing that from her. Sorry, Sam. So who is somebody that you from your past that you'd like to thank, and who is somebody that you want to put over?
Oh wow, there's so many people that I could thank. The list, so many people have helped me. So many people have helped our company. The first one that stands out, there's two, is the weekend my mother was passing away. We knew that potentially it was her last few hours, and I was booked on a show, and I was booked on two shows that weekend. And ironically, the hospital where my mum was in, the event was in the hospital building.
What?
So,
Really?
yeah, they have a little social hall for the staff and for members to go to. So the show was actually booked in the hospital. So I'm sat at the bedside with all of our family, and I'm stressing because I know in my head I wanted to wrestle, but I know at the same time I didn't want to be the how do you word it, the bad egg in the family, not being there at the right time, because wrestling does that. You know,
Yeah.
you find yourself on these events or on the road or doing whatever when you've got family events or friends events or weddings or whatever. So my mum's there, she's struggling to breathe, she's hooked up with all the oxygen, she's really not good, and she removes her masks and says, go and do the match, tell me how it goes as soon as you get back. Even if I'm asleep, wake me up. So I'm like, I've got to go now. I've got to go and do this match. So I went to the event, and there was Robbie X, again, another one who is one of the best this country's produced, and a guy called Will Jackson, who we don't speak as often, but he's still, I class him as a good friend, and I owe so much to them too, because my head wasn't in a good place for that event, but I had to do it. And they came up with a whole plan that they would keep my phone backstage. I'd do my match. If my phone rang, Will would come in as a villain and beat me down as the baby face. And Robbie would make the save, drag me backstage. I'd get my stuff and I'd get into the ward where my mum was at. So they came up with this whole plan. They kept me sane. They kept me safe. And thankfully the event went well. My mum survived that night, and I just didn't go the next day to the show. So them two stand out first. To put over again, Lory, I have to put her over because she's so underutilized. A lady who I'm wrestling soon, Scarlett. Yeah, there's that as well. A lady who I'm wrestling soon called Scarlett. I don't see enough of her around the country. And there's so many guys from the training school I could spend a lot of time putting people over too. So I'm just going to stick with them two for now so nobody feels too left out.
All right, and Becca, same question.
So because of my maybe dislike for wrestling, my sort of like thanks can't come mainly from wrestling. So I think my thanks would be really to my dad, because he is the man who taught me how to be the woman I am today, and to have the morals that I have, and to question everything, and to not take things at face value, and to give me the drive and passion that I have for everything. But then paying it forward, we have our kind of safeguarding officer. She's called Kirsty, and she has helped us so much no end with advice, help, sponsorship, you name it. She has done so much for Fight Factory that in the times where the company fell on its knees, she literally picked it back up again. She picked me back up again and, you know, helped drive us forward. The pandemic was difficult for all of us, but I lost my dad in the pandemic. And I wanted to throw in the towel for everything. I wanted to end the business. I didn't want my degree. I just didn't want anything. But that woman single-handedly picked me up and took me by the scruff of the neck and said, you are going to continue. So she's who I want to put over because she's just amazing.
All right. Now, you are in the UK, so this is UK exclusive questions. Did Patrick Stewart deserve to be knighted?
There's been worse people.
Yeah. That one, you know what? I don't really pay attention. Probably not, but you know, the whole knighthood thing for me is just like, it's a bit pompous, isn't it?
But Hayden, you said there's been worse people ignited. Do tell.
I believe there were some who were outed as prolific paedophiles, if I'm correct in saying.
Jimmy Savile knighted.
That's what
at
I'm
one
thinking,
point.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no,
there's definitely been worse.
And next question. KFC or Nando's?
Oh, Nando's. Nando's,
All the way.
100%.
From chicken to a controversial subject, pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
No.
Yes.
No.
Why would you not have pineapple on a pizza?
No.
Yep. The house is divided with that.
The boys in the house all say no. The girls all say yes.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
Do you know, this is a funny one. I know absolutely nothing about Pokemon, yet I wear a Pokemon contact lens and I have a Pokemon tattooed on my shoulder. I know nothing about them.
But what's the tattoo on your shoulder?
I don't even know.
I
don't know what he's called.
Okay.
It was again another charity thing. We were putting posters out for an event, and we saw in the tattoo studio, I think it was £50, £100, and it went to charity. If you got a Pokemon, there was only one of each one being done. So I said, well, it's a good cause. I'll just get it. Got my son to choose it, but what he's called, I couldn't tell you.
Mine would be Pikachu because like it's based around morals and stuff, in it. So therefore,
Now, specifically for Hayden, weirdest question you'll ever be asked on a wrestling podcast: would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual Rock.
I've wrestled worse, so
if
the paycheck's right, yeah.
Now, throw it to Becca. Would you ever consider booking a Rock?
Again, I've booked worse, so
And paid more for it.
and paid more for it. Yeah. So if the storyline was right, then yeah, because actually I've got a lot of faith in the people that I have on my card that can tell a story.
Lex Buffington versus a Rock would be fantastic.
Immense. Like, you know, I've got a lot of faith in them. So yeah, why not?
Just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in what was dubbed a Tungsten Man match, an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Wow. Hey, it's wrestling. Anything can happen.
Anything is possible.
Well, he didn't win the match, so yeah. We love Tracy Smothers on the show. Do either of you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
No.
No.
But I'm really old and boring, so I'm not up to date with stuff like that. So no, I don't.
Hayden, you don't know?
No.
Alright, well, T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a dog can't spell. Now,
Neither.
it is once again time for that segment, Becca and Hayden's Bizarre Adventure. You're pro wrestlers and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh.
So many. Right. Let's think. I mean, there was the time coming back from a show. It's kind of funny, not funny. The ring van had gone ahead. It had taken the ring back to the gym, and as we got in the car to come back, the car full of other wrestlers that was coming back from the town we were in, as we're getting around the corner, there's a big accident, police cars, and it turns out it was my brother driving with the other wrestlers in the car. That's quite a road story that sticks for me. It was literally 5 minutes from our house, and they'd stopped for food somewhere and been in this RTC.
Yeah, they have.
So
yeah.
that one sticks out. It's not particularly funny, but it is when you look back at it. My memory's awful. You're going to have to think of these funny stories for me, or...
I don't know if any of them are broadcastable. I have to say. I don't know. Put on the spot.
So I've got another one. We did a show down south. 4-hour drive. And the service stations, the bathrooms, I have stage fright, so I can't use them.
Okay.
And my body seems to know when I'm 40 minutes away from home, and it lets me know in a bad way. So we were in the van. It was Lory, Becca, and myself. 4 hours. 4 hours into the journey because we had stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the blue lights in the distance. We knew there's a traffic accident. The weather's not great, and my body's telling me I've got to poop. And then we are stuck with police cars, ambulance, and fire engine in this big road traffic accident. And my stage fright was wanting to disappear. I needed to go. So in my delusional, tired, needing to poop state, I asked a policeman if I could poop in his hat. And he thought we were joking, and then threatened to give me a fine for speaking to him the way I did, which I thought was funny. Again, they're the two that stick in my head. I don't know how stupid they make me sound.
Those were fantastic stories. No, I love those.
I think Lory could tell you in more funny detail. I was in a blind panic.
Well, when I have her back on, I'll definitely ask. But on a more serious note, where do you guys see yourself in 5 years?
I think for me personally, this year I turned 39. Yep, I had to think about that. So I think for me in 5 years, I will have retired unless anything really keeps me going. I kind of had a penciled in date for leaving in-ring action. Next year's Bodyslams to Cancer was kind of the penciled in date in my mind. But again, like, it's wrestling. So hopefully in 5 years, though, the training school's doing well. The promotion's doing well. We can help the new guys. We do a lot of work with charities, so we can continue doing that. So that's where I see it in 5 years, hopefully.
Becca?
I think for me, it's still running Fight Factory, making it as a success as it possibly can be. And then continuing on in my nursing career, which I've developed, and I'd like to specialise in palliative care. So it's just helping as many people as I can in my own personal career, while still working with Fight Factory and raising our kids to be good little humans, I think.
All right. Now, for Hayden, what is a match that people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you're all about?
Oh God. So I found myself in more recent years doing some comedy and hardcore and trying to mix them together. I've watched one today. We struggle with the company to get our footage edited properly. But there is a match with my brother and myself as tag team champions defending against Lory and Valentine. That's my phone going off.
You're correct.
And the match there, I think, at the point the two younger ones, my brother and Valentine, were trying to have fun with themselves. So the match didn't make sense in certain points, but it adds to the comedy value of it. But it sort of shows off a little bit of everything apart from the sort of hardcore stuff. We didn't do anything there. There is an over 18 show on YouTube, again, a tag team match with my brother and myself against Supremely Buff. That's on the company YouTube, I believe. So yeah, they're two that I can say quickly off the top of my head.
And we will, I know exactly where that Lory match is, so I will definitely put that in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that wants to go check it out after this interview. Now, Becca, what is a match that people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Fight Factory is all about?
Oh, okay.
I would put my hand up and say Eliza Roux and Lory from Bodyslams to Cancer is a really good one.
So Bodyslams to Cancer 2019? Was it 19? I think
Maybe.
it was. Yeah. It was Eliza versus Lory. And that in itself was just an amazing match, because it wasn't a case of two women putting on a match. It was just two bloody good wrestlers just showcasing everything that Fight Factory is about.
4 years of build-up behind it.
Yeah, there was a massive story behind that, and it came for like the ultimate payoff. So, but that and any Bodyslams to Cancer show, really, because I like to put together shows that have something for everybody. So there's always a comedy match, a hardcore match, women's match. You know, there's something for everybody. It's a bit like going to the circus. You don't just go to see the clowns. There's always like the trapeze and the high flyers, etc. But the one thing you'll never find in Fight Factory is death matches, because I can't stand them. I just think they're daft and just pointless. But yeah, so any of our Bodyslams to Cancer shows really would be what shows Fight Factory offers it best.
All right, and the match with Lory was a women's championship versus cruiserweight championship. It was for both titles, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So that in itself, because obviously the cruiserweight championship was, you know, historically it had been put on men, and I didn't see the point in that. I'm the type of promoter that actually would put the women's belt on a man or anybody. You know, if you are working hard enough for that title and you're putting yourself on the line and you're giving your all, then you deserve to win that title. So, yeah. That's right.
We feel to have a lot in common. He actually won a women's title. I will put that match in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox as well. What's the best way to watch Fight Factory wrestling?
So we do put a lot on our YouTube channel, but also if you go through our website at fightfactorywrestling.com, you can view our on-demand. So we are trying to update that as much as we possibly can, but video editing is not my strong point. So it's having the time to get somebody to edit the videos without it costing the company an absolute fortune. So we are small, but we are mighty, but we don't have endless pockets of money. So we try and put as much content out on our social media as possible, but we need to do more.
All right. Now, since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh God, no! But yeah.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Chick Cullen.
Becca?
The Rock, just because I like to look at him.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Anybody on trash bags.
Pass.
Pass? Well,
I don't have one.
We'll give you the default answer. You have chosen Eva Marie.
Very good choice. Absolutely, yes.
She has hair.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Dream match, Stone Cold.
Becca, you're booking the main event. Who are the 2 combatants?
Scarlett from EWW, which she's underrated, and Lory, because that would be an epic match.
That would be pretty cool. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Mr. Perfect.
Oh, that's a good one. Becca?
I have no clue.
Legion of Doom, I can shave your head.
Yeah, let's go for that.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Dead.
An art form to keep alive.
We also would have accepted taste great on toast. Squash, fruit or vegetable?
Food. Fruit. It's fruit because it's got seeds in it.
Yeah, fruit.
Are you going with fruit too, Hayden?
Yep.
That is correct. It is actually a fruit. New Japan wrestler Tai Chi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I'd say Robbie X is cutting it fine, so Robbie X's style trunks. They're low and they're high at the same time.
Any trunk to butt ratio that doesn't involve you picking pants out your ass constantly would be mine.
And the main event, the last question, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Not in a supermarket, but I have in a gym, strangely enough.
Becca?
No, I haven't.
And that is the correct answer.
She asked me who he was.
I've got no clue.
And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Once again, where can we find you or both of you on social media, Fight Factory, merchandise, the whole shebang?
So for me, it's Lincoln Dutch on Instagram, and there should be a link on there to go to all of my links from my sponsors to my Facebook. I believe there's a merchandise link on there. So everything should be linked through my Instagram. It's just the easiest way for me to remember.
And then for Fight Factory, it is fightfactorywrestling.com or Facebook, which is /FF Wrestling. And then I don't have wrestling social media, so I just go through Fight Factory.
All right. And you don't even have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links will be in the description of the video, both below on YouTube and Castbox. You've been listening to them for over an hour. Give them a damn follow and buy a damn shirt.
Yeah, please. I've got kids to feed.
They got kids, damn it. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Join us next week as we interview Mordor. And, of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Follow the show both on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling with E. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Follow Kaliko at I am Kaliko. You can follow Scooter Dust at Scooter Dust, and on the Remix, the only live alternative commentary for WWE paid previews on the UNSB network. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you guys say entertainment.
Yep.
For our very special guests, Becca and Hayden, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.